How's it going, fellow monkeys? Here I am. It's been far too long since I posted another entry into my Psychedelic Diaries, and it's been an even longer time since I've tripped. Um, my mind has been rather hectic lately, and I don't really have a plan for this video. I don't have a set of lessons I've learned from the psychedelics or anything like that to read. Um, Rather, I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys. And I actually wanted to talk about some things. I wanted to talk about visions. Um, but first, let me just kind of explain myself. I feel like I go through periods of rest and periods of great acceleration um, in my spiritual journey. And the past couple months have kind of been that acceleration. Um, Things have just been moving really fast in my life and in my spirituality. Man, that sounds pretentious saying out loud. Um, but things are moving fast over here, and the amount of support I've gotten, even while not producing videos for you guys, is mind blowing. Like the comments and the consistent views on older videos. I mean, it all just reassures me that I'm doing something important. I'm doing something correct or whatever. Uh, Lately, my energy though has been elsewhere. Um, One of the things I've learned through using psychedelics, and this is kind of a hard truth about using psychedelics. Um, but one of the things I've learned is that right now, a good majority of the work is to be done here. Um, and I could go into that, my whole philosophy of why we're here, and what the work to be done is. But that's a whole that's a whole nother tangent. I don't know if I'm willing to get onto right now. Uh, my point just being that my energy is kind of scattered, and writing about psychedelics and all this and making videos about psychedelics has just not really been on my radar because you know you need that I need that duality of some for a portion of my life I will focus on psychedelics, and for a portion I will focus on other things, and that's just the way I operate. I always have. Oh, I'm also high right now, so my mind is wandering all over the place. So sorry if this isn't cohesive. Like I said, I don't really have a plan. Um, I did, however, want to talk about visions. So what I think it's pretty uh, widely accepted within this community that not only does the psychedelic grant you an experience, it grants you an open door to the expanses of your own mind. And what I mean by this is if you are conscious enough, if you are awake enough, if you are paying enough attention, um, a psychedelic trip won't end after the drug is out of your body. And I don't mean you'll keep tripping and you'll keep seeing shit. I just mean more work will be done in your subconscious and in your conscious mind after the trip. Um, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so let me just read you. I'm gonna just read uh, this thing I wrote. So this was the okay. Yeah, here's what I was saying. Um, I meditate, and I meditate as deep as I can every night. Um, and there's a state. So, so what I was getting at with the psychedelics opening a door to the expanses of one's own mind, what I've experienced personally is after being introduced to this experience and after experiencing this ineffable thing, um, my mind, my consciousness, my being has enlarged, and I mean this in the sense that the bubble of which I am aware of, the the my field of consciousness, the things I can conceive have grown. And I think this is true for anyone throughout life. You know, if I mean, I guess if you, I mean, unless you have like some brain disabilities or degenerative diseases, but we learn and we expand as a collective and as individuals, and this is just the nature of things. Um, and I think the psychedelic is a catalyst for this. So it has immensely sped up my intellectual and conscious expansion. And so when I meditate, I have I have gained the ability, I guess. I've gained the understanding of how to reach certain states of simple awareness, I guess is the only thing I could really say about it. And these states are what I believe are the ones described in, some Eastern religion, and I mean, it's bliss, it's nirvana, it's satori, it's becoming the one. It is a full emergence of one's individual self into that of the collective self. And in these certain moments during my meditation, I feel as though there is no separation between me and everything that is. Um, and in these states, I have found that I can act immensely creatively, and I can do this, and I can produce this in this state. Or it will happen to me. So, I mean, here's just kind of I mean, this can't be put into words, but here's how I would explain it. After around 30 or 40 minutes of complete darkness meditation, I reach this state where I forget about myself. I've gone so far into my mind that I forget about my body and my physical attachments, and I am in this vast expanse of pure awareness. And within this state, I can manifest things in my mind. I can manifest, so for example, if I've reached this nirvana-like bliss state, I can think into existence a ball. I mean, just for example, and I can turn the ball in my mind, and I can observe it from every angle, and I can even say it was a simple a simple construction of a box with bolts and washers and whatnot. I could explode that in my mind, almost to replicate like a design drawing where all the parts are exploded out, and you can see each individual part and how they fit into one another. And this is just really hard to explain, but I mean, this is just what I experienced subjectively while exploring my own consciousness. So, in addition to this ability to manifest visual objects in my mind, um, I also things also happen to me. Not only can I, uh, what's the word, push my will into something, but it almost feels as though something else's will is being pushed into me. Uh, One example of this is a vision I had during meditation a few months ago, and I'll just read it to you. I wrote this down the day after it happened. Last night I had a profound and beautiful vision. This vision made me feel like a child. It reminded me of myself, and I felt a feeling that I know I feel always. Before birth and after death, this feeling exists. I just know it. I'm so sure of it. My meditation was beginning to become clear, and the clutter in my head began to disappear. Then suddenly and surprisingly I had a vision of a boy standing on a cliff, melancholy and sad and deeply nostalgic in the most beautiful way possible. And it was just a scene. And I was neither the boy or the observer. I was, instead, the whole scene. I was vast stretches of empty mountains on a seemingly alien Earth-like planet, and I was the deep colors of the sun in the sky. I knew this boy was alone, and he had been forever. The way he looked out, he seemed lost, but home at the same time. I knew it. Then I was thrown out of this scene, back into the darkness behind my eyelids. I was surprised and my heart was beating fast because this wasn't like any random abstract visual I've seen. This was something important and I could feel it. Something was showing this to me. I knew it. Then before I could regain my composure, I was thrown into another scene. It was the scene of the same boy floating through psychedelia. His eyes were closed and he was motionless aside from the slow movement of him floating and flowing with the fractal kaleidoscope that surrounded and engulfed him. He opened his eyes and saw all of it and continued to absent-mindedly be carried by the beauty. Then the darkness again. My mind blown by how vivid and full of feeling these visions were, and with tears streaming down my face, eyes still closed, I recalled seeing beautiful, small fractal windows on the walls when I was a child, but I could never explain it to anyone because I could barely add 2 plus 2. This was only a deep, hidden memory and not a vision. I couldn't believe that I was seeing and remembering these things, so I tried to convince myself that I was making it all up. And as soon as I had this thought, I was thrown into a vision more vivid than my waking life. This time the boy was deep underwater, and this water was thick and warm and full of love, and I could feel all of it, for I was all of it. And again he was floating aimlessly, eyes closed, and I felt such a connection with the boy, and I felt urged to tell him everything was okay. I was the whole environment again, and the words swim, float, started swirling in my mind. First I was just testing out what would happen by gently telling him to wake up and swim. Then I found myself ferociously yelling at him in my mind to wake up, swim, you can swim, you must swim, please float. Then the boy acknowledged me and began to swim, and I felt my connection with him become instantly concrete. He began to swim, and joy filled my mind. His swim turned into a slow walk somehow above the water. He was walking above the water. I felt so proud and empowered and connected to him. Then I realized he was me in another world. He's always been me, and I've always been him. We are both waking up together, and it's beyond beautiful, and I can't even pretend to understand it. So that was quite a profound experience, I will say, because this was the first time I experienced something in my meditation that felt other than me, other than my will. Um, and it occurs to me that when I experience these things, it isn't it isn't an investigation of what I can think. Rather, these moments are epiphany-like in the sense that they just come to me and are filled with information about myself that is undeniable to me, is so subjectively true that I can't um, dismiss it. So as time progressed, I dove deeper into my own mind and have had other visions, similar visions, and also quite different visions. I've come to, golly, this is really weird to try to talk about because I don't quite understand it. I'm, this video is really just me trying to express my subjective experience. Um, but it seems that once once I reach this state in my meditation and push deeper into these things, I've come to discover something of literal worlds inside my head. And I mean, just, I don't even believe I'm saying it. But, if I go deep enough in there, there are completely independent um, worlds with characters and an environment. And for the most part, it's actually not characters. It's always a character very similar to me in a completely different universe. Um, I don't really know how to explain this, but it's like, I guess maybe past lives. Um, they could be a production of my deep subconscious. Uh, you know, I'm willing to have an open mind about what this is. I am not, however, willing to dismiss these things as true experience because regardless of what's happening psychologically, it is the same thing as if I were to journey to another world. It feels the same, it looks the same, it smells the same. I can what would the difference be? Um, Man, I really feel like I sound crazy, but this is just how it's unfolding for me. Um, we can go into these worlds. We can talk about this if you guys would like. That would have to be another video entirely, just because there's so much content and information there. But I think what I'm trying to get at is that with the use of the psychedelic as a catalyst for mind exploration, one can do amazing things with his mind. These these states have granted me a completely objective perspective to everything in my life. And so if I'm doing something wrong or something that I deem wrong, there is no illusion for me. There is no lying to myself, as I simply cannot, because I have pushed myself into an objective, well, I don't want to claim objectivity, but I've pushed myself into a new perspective of my life. So, I mean, yeah, crazy fucking things happen, dude. After you eat acid, you go all crazy and start thinking too much, bro. Um, but I mean, I just kind of wanted to rant, and I have a couple notes here. We talked about visions. We talked about some hard truths. That's another thing, actually, I wanted to talk about is, you know, I think we have to recognize when it's time to sit back and just digest. Um, because it's very easy to chase the white light or to chase the elf inside the mushroom. And I firmly believe that with no discipline, one can dive off the deep end. And you know, we hear horror stories of people becoming schizophrenic after having a psychotic break on mushrooms, and it's possible. It's completely viable that that can happen to any of us if we use these things irresponsibly. Um, so I mean, something that's kind of actually been kind of hard for me is just recognizing that I don't need to constantly be, well, I think I think on a very grand scale, it's inevitable that I will be pushing myself further and deeper, you know, as far as I'm gonna go. But on the other hand, I also recognize that there it's necessary that there are periods of rest, periods of integration. And lately, I've just been having one of those, you know, life is intense enough right now. I don't need to be adding, I don't need to be evoking more intensity as of right now. Um, I do plan on tripping more and, you know, making more content and diving down the rabbit hole. But right now, it's just not that time. Well, anyways, I mean, I guess that's all I really have to say. Uh, I wanted to just thank you guys again. It's unbelievable and it's amazing, and I have infinite love for all of you because you have you all have given me a voice and also actually more importantly given me your ears because this is hard to talk about even to myself alone in my room. I can't imagine trying to tell my dad. Anyways, thank you guys. Love you all.